Thank you. Thank you. Thanks, Justin.
You got it. I have a mic here.
Yeah, I got it all taped up. I feel like a player now. I got my mic all taped. How you guys doing? Anybody tired? Woo! That one will wake me. Oh, man. My legs are like rubber. Woo! That's fun. Okay, does anybody have any questions? Do we have a runner with the mic?
I'm right
you
here,
got
my
it.
friend.
Justin,
Yeah.
you're like a multi-purpose guy.
It's all good. Right here, my friend.
Hey, how's it going?
Real good, and thank you. That performance was unreal.
Oh, good. Thanks. Appreciate it.
Fantastic. What happened to your brother after that game?
Everyone always asks that one. For those of you who don't know, my brother's Tony Eason. He was the quarterback for the New England Patriots for 9 years. Took him to the Super Bowl in 1985. And we're a year apart. Most of the story is true. The game is made up. 1987, my brother and I were scheduled to play against each other. And the whole family was really nervous. It's true. I'm the youngest of 6 kids. My mom and dad are, obviously know a lot about football. And both their sons were, top picks in the pros. So this game came up in 87 where we were scheduled to play against each other. And about 4 days before that game was to be played, the NFL players went on strike. And the game never happened. Yeah, and so about 12, 13, 14 years later, I'd always kind of been haunted by that thought of having to play against not only, the closest person to me as a kid, but the person most responsible for me being there. And I always was thinking, what am I going to choose? If it comes down between him and the 20-year plan, how do you make that decision in a split second? And so I wrote the play from that split second. I just wanted to be able to make that decision almost like as a healing for myself. And so the play was really written from this moment here in the end where you close your eyes and drop your head, which you've done your whole life, but now it's your brother. And I always thought that would be good drama. That would be excellent drama if you could put a person in the position of the person he loves the most that he has to destroy, and vice versa. Kind of a Cain and Abel story.
Great point.
Yeah, and that's where it was written from, and that just so everyone knows, that's where your stories will come from too. Your biggest asset that you have as an entrepreneur is your story, is your personal lot in life. Because think about it, there's 7 billion of us, almost 7 billion on this planet, and it's the only thing that's truly yours. It's the only thing that differentiates you from the other 7 billion. And it's where all your power lies, and it's where your voice lies. And so that's why when I train entrepreneurs or when I train CEOs, I said, no, we got to go to the most personal part of your story, which is that's the most intimate personal decision I've ever made in my life. And it didn't really happen. That didn't happen. It could have happened. It was 4 days from happening. And it didn't happen. And so I wanted to see what my body would go through, what decision I would make. So in the training of this, in the rehearsals of Runt to the Litter, which went on for about a year and a half, we did about 3 or 4 different endings. One where he won, one where I won, one where the dad came into the locker room at the end. A lot of different endings. This one was the most powerful for the audiences. We got a lot of feedback in the first couple of years from audiences, and they said, no, leave it like that so we can decide, so we can deal with our own humanity. Yeah. And that's what your story's going to be too. This is how I see you, and this is how I see entrepreneurs, and this is how I see me and you, is I see us as these global brands. Because we can go all the way across the world now. I mean, we are a global brand, you and me, just by ourselves. And I'm going to be the face, I'm going to be the voice, and I'm going to be the body of that brand. Same with you. So I want to test my humanity. I want to see to what extent I can express myself so that this brand or this company can expand itself so that it touches everybody in the world, so then it gives them permission to do the same. And that's what I want you all to think about. That's why we did that exercise where you don't have to do a one-person show. When I train people, I have an event coming up, and I train people in that event for 3 days. But we work on 3 minutes. 3 minutes of that right there. 3 minutes, the writing, the physicality of it, so that you can express yourself fully, so that you can move molecules and move humanity. And then the performance of it. If you can do that, and you do that everywhere you go, which you will, because you know how I've been trained is I've been trained to make the story in this body. So this body is the story. So these cells and these molecules and these guts and this blood is all informed with that, what you just saw. So that's why it's all movement, all communication, all of the time. But if you think about your life is exactly the same. You cannot not communicate. So everything, your hair, your clothes, your glasses, your beard, it all communicates something. So it might as well be what we want it to communicate, right? That's why we inform this body of expression, of letting that story rip. That way the whole world, wherever you go, you're walking around 24 hours a day, that body is expressing your brand, your story, 24 hours a day. You know who does this really well? Just a couple examples of people who do this. People whose job, their occupation, like most people's job, most people hate their jobs, right? Not us. Not us. Our jobs are an expression of who we are. Otherwise, you wouldn't be in this room, right? You wouldn't be here if you hated your job. You want your occupation to be an expression of who you are. I'll tell you 2 guys who I've worked with who do this, 3 guys. I'll tell you 3 guys that do this amazing. You guys know who Mikhail Baryshnikov is? Greatest ballet dancer of all time. He's probably 70 years old now. I did my play in his theater in New York City where he has his ballet team is there. So I get in the elevator with him, every other day I'd see him. And I'd never seen anything like this guy. He's like this big. He is a stud, his feet are mangled. His knees are they're worse than mine. And his feet are his toes are like going in different directions, but his whole body expresses, you know what it expresses? The greatest ballet dancer of all time. The one who changed that sport, or if it's an art or a sport, whatever it is, he changed that. That's who he is. His occupation is an expression of who he is all the time. At the end of my career, I got traded from the Houston Oilers to the San Francisco 49ers. So I had played against Jerry Rice. Does everyone know who Jerry Rice is? Yeah. Jerry Rice, probably the greatest football player ever to play, ever. More touchdowns than anybody. No one will catch him. The person in second place, which is Emmitt Smith, is like 62 touchdowns behind him. That's how far he's ahead of everybody. When I got traded to the San Francisco 49ers, I had played against Jerry Rice, so I knew he was great, right? I knew he was amazing. But when I got traded there, I go, okay, I'm going to be on the same field as this dude. I'm going to check him out. So first day of practice, we're in Rockland, California. It's 110 degrees, hotter than hell. First day of training camp. Well, training camp for veterans like me and Jerry Rice is a chance for the older guys to get into shape and kind of warm up and get yourself ready for the season. It's also a time for the young rookies to try their ass off to make the team. So here's what happens. We go out, I'm watching Jerry Rice. First of all, I always made a deal with myself about football. When I was little, I just said to myself, and I just made a deal with myself. I'm going to be the first person out to practice, and I'm going to be the last person off the field. That was just a little thing I made with myself. Well, when I got to the 49ers, first day of practice, I'm out early, right? I'm out early. Guess who's out there? Yep, before me. I was like, damn. So we go through practice, right? Right off in the beginning of practice, there's a line of 16 receivers who want to make the team. They're only going to keep about 6 or 7 of them. But 16 are lined up trying to make the team. Jerry Rice, the greatest player of all time, is one of them. And there's a line. And all these guys who are trying to make the team who have no idea, they're never even going to make the team. They're just out of college. This is how they're doing it. They're running a pattern like this. They break. Quarterback throws them the ball. They catch it. And then they walk back to the quarterback, Joe Montana, and they hand him the ball. And they get back in line. And every guy does the same thing. And it comes Jerry Rice's turn. I'm going, okay, let's see what homeboy does. And Jerry Rice goes like this. Snaps the ball, takes off full speed, cuts on a dime, catches the ball, turns upfield, shoo, 100 yards to the end zone, top speed. Nobody's even chasing him. No one's even out there. 100 yards. So if we put the drill 200 yards back there, he would run 200 yards till he got his body in the end zone. And everyone's like this. All the guys who've never seen this before were like, what the hell is he doing? He's running full speed all the way down. He's going to wear himself out. 2-3 hours of practice, one after the other, after the other. Every time he caught the ball, he took off full speed to the end zone. Every time. I was like, I never seen anything like that. So at the end of practice, he must have run like 10 miles of those. At the end of practice, I go walking up to him. I said, Jerry, I said, man, what's up? What are you doing with all that running, man? You're making everybody look bad. He goes, I go, why do you do that? And he goes, oh, Bo, that's really simple. See, every time these hands touch a ball, this body ends up in the end zone. And right then I said, of course he's got more touchdowns than anyone will ever score, because he trained his body that when leather touched these, this ended up in the end zone. And he trained his body again and again and again. And so the position of wide receiver was such an expression of who he is that it was beautiful to watch. And then a couple years ago, my wife comes to me and she goes, Bo, Jerry Rice, your old teammate's going to be on Dancing with the Stars. And you know what I said? He's going to win. And sure enough. And he's not even a good dancer. But you know what? I knew he'd outwork everybody. I knew all those Hollywood people would be getting their nails done and shit. And he'd be out there. He'd be out there dancing his ass off. The third guy is a guy named Al Pacino. Al Pacino, when I first started, I went from the NFL and I moved to New York City because I wanted to be the best stage actor in the world. Because I knew how to be the best safety in the world, and now I couldn't do it anymore. So I said, you know what? I'm going to be the best stage actor of our generation. Because who else is thinking about that? Nobody. So I moved to New York City, right? I moved to New York City. I get an acting class. I'm acting my ass off. I'm doing every scene, every class I could do, right? And all these, I'm going up to every actor in my class. I'm going, hey man, look, who's the best stage actor of our generation? Who is it? And they go, well, that's Al Pacino. I said, okay, cool. Where is he? And they're like, well, I don't know. He's Al Pacino. He's probably on a movie set somewhere. I go, well, I need to talk to him. They said, man, you can't talk to Al Pacino. I said, no. If I'm going to be the best stage actor in the world, and he is it, I'm going to talk to him because he's going to tell me how. And so with about 3 phone calls, I was at Al Pacino's house. And he lives just across the George Washington Bridge. It's still in New York, but it's just up the river there, right on the river. And so I'm at his house, and he said, you can ask me any questions you want. And I said, great. So we went back into this room where he has a pool table, and all his scripts from all of The Godfather and all those movies are sitting right there. And I'm just a beginning actor. And we're playing pool, and I go, look, Al, everyone tells me you're the greatest stage actor of our time. And he goes, well, yeah. And I go, well, I want that. I want that mantle. Can you tell me how to do it? He goes, yeah, I can tell you how to do that. I go, cool. So we played pool for 3 hours, and I asked him every question, and he told me where to train: voice, body, movement, dance, improv, acting class, all the things that I needed to learn. Because I had a work ethic, because I knew how to play. I knew how to make something, bring something into existence. But this was from a completely different art form, right? So I started training. And I trained my butt off just like I did as a safety. Same training, same thing. 15 years later, I'd never seen Al Pacino since that day. 15 years later, I come running out on stage on Broadway. I come running out, and I'm doing the play, just like I did to you guys today. I slap 5 like this, and I'm doing the play, doing around, and about right in here, I look, and I see Al Pacino sitting in about row 5, right on the aisle, right on the end. And I couldn't believe it was him. And we made eye contact, and this is what he did when we made eye contact. And I said, right on, Al. Got it. I did what you said. So those 3 guys, Baryshnikov, Pacino, Jerry Rice, their jobs are an expression of who they are. Same with yours. You got to line those 2 up, okay? Got to line those two up, because then you'll never have to work again. And guess what? You're a magnet. Everyone has to come to you. There's a definition for magnetism, and it goes like this. Magnetism. He has the power to affect others with the delight he takes in himself. Magnetism. He has the power to affect others with the delight he takes in himself. It's not that my story's better than yours. It's that I love my story more than you love yours. I'm more generous with my story than you are with yours. That's the only difference. Jerry Rice, Baryshnikov, Pacino are so generous with their bodies, with their expression, that they're magnetic. You have to go to them. You have to pay them the most. See what I mean? That's what I want you to do. That was kind of a long answer, wasn't it?
I have a little short story. When I was playing football, I got knocked out, was on the sideline. They opened my pants up, you know how they do, give you a smelling salts.
Yes.
Well, that's not what woke me up. What woke me up was all the cheerleaders all around looking at me with my pants wide open. I got up right away. Because some of them I dated, but that's about all my story.
That sounds like a beginning of a good story right in there. You know, like kind of like the Cindy Tomasini part. Because anytime you're hurt, it's funny. Anybody who played any sports, or when you're injured, your life passes before you, and you think of the weirdest things, like sex. Like you're going, I wish I would have had sex. You know, like weird things, like, oh, my pants were undone, you know? It's the funniest things, but it's always a great place to begin a story, because humans connect to that humanity, that embarrassment. Yeah. Embarrassment is a great connector of people. And when we're ashamed of something, it's a great connector. So always use that with your clients or your list. Always personal, personal, personal. The more personal you make it, the more universal it becomes. Every story is like that. The more personal you make it, the more universal it becomes, the more it projects out to the world, right? Right. But our parents taught us different, right? Yeah. What did they say? Don't brag about yourself. Don't talk about yourself, right? That was that generation. I love it. Not this one.
My dad always said everyone wipes himself the same way.
Yeah, now my dad used to say that too.
Did he?
He did. Yeah.
Sure we're not brothers?
Yeah, we may be brothers. Okay, anybody else have a question? I'll try to answer it a little more succinctly.
Hey, thank you so much. My brother's actually sitting right here.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Are you guys twins?
No.
No?
I'm older I'm 24 months older.
Oh, it's like me and my brother. It's
yeah,
cool.
It was crazy. It was just
nothing better than brothers. Every movie I got hired by Leonardo DiCaprio to write a movie for him and Tobey Maguire, because they came to the play, and they wanted a brother. They wanted this thing, but this has already been bought as a movie, so they wanted another one, and so I wrote them a brother movie, I love brother stories. Yeah. I just love it. Even if you're not necessarily brothers, I just love that brotherhood it's so hard, you know, as you guys know, it's so hard to have the intimacy and the connection with men and other men other than athletics. You know, like if you're in sports, it's cool to like, yeah, man, we did it together. You know, and it's hard to do. And I like to bring that to business, like that brotherhood. And I'm not excluding women. I mean a brotherhood, a sister. I mean, when I say brotherhood, I mean women also. That kind of brotherhood. Yeah.
And we're super. It was just amazing to hear and see even little snippets. I have two questions. One really quick one. What is your actual real name?
Bo Eason.
Bo Eason.
My legal name is James. James Eason is my legal name, but my dad, I've been called Bo my whole life.
So why did your jersey say Henry?
Because the game that I played, you know, against my brother didn't happen. And if you use my real name, like on the Broadway critics will rip you apart, saying this guy is just a farce, he's a liar. You see what I mean?
Gotcha.
Because they're interested in. I mean, listen, think about this. Do you ever heard of any kid that said, hey, I think I'm going to grow up and be a critic? Has anyone ever said that in the history of humanity? Never, right? So the people that end up being critics go, oh, he made up. That's not true. That's what their job is. Can you believe that?
Yeah. We were just talking about that.
Right? And that's like the whole world, if you look around, the whole world's turning into critics.
Yeah.
right? Like every newscast is a critique on the, it reminds me of the Roosevelt quote that says, how they talk about how the strong man stumbled or how the doer of good deeds should have done better. That's the whole world, right? Not us, huh? Not us. We're players. We're combatants. We're bloody. We're in the middle of the field trying to achieve something. Who cares? If they want to critique us and say we're bad or we suck or whatever, fine. Keep creating. Don't let those critics stop your creativity, because we're the only things left. Yeah. If we stop creating, man, this world's over.
Yeah, they're not our people. Anyway, here's my question. You have the dream or the game that you crayoned. Was that true?
Yes.
Okay. And then you did it again with acting.
Yes.
You have an unreal, like I've never seen ability to commit to something and go literally, like you used the right word, like an arrow at that target. Yeah. And I think for any entrepreneur, that is something, we all get stopped by minutia or something or blah, blah, blah. Is there anything you can say? Because that is the most insane ability I've ever seen in any human being, what you just shared.
Yep.
Anything that you can share with us like that, what is the thought process, or when something goes to stop you, where do you go that just has you like...
Yep. I'll break it down for you really easily. 99% of the time, and gives you a big break and it gives me a big break. 99% of the time, I'm off target. 99. Think about, this is the analogy. Say we chartered, all of us in this room chartered a jet today, and we were going to fly to LA. Okay, all of us together. When we get on that jet, the pilots get that jet up in the air, and then they put it on automatic pilot so they can eat their lunch and do whatever they do, right? That jet is going to land on the exact inch in LA that it's supposed to. But over the United States, as it flies, it's 99% off course. The automatic pilot is only a function of righting the ship. So it's 99% off course. You just right the ship. When it gets to LA, boom, the exact spot. No different than me. I had a dream. Best safety in the whole world in 15 years and win a Super Bowl in 20. Okay? That's the plan. I was off target 99% of the time because, I would, and then I'd have to right the ship because I'd be making out with Cindy Tomasini and I go, damn, I got to right the ship. And then my buddies would go, hey man, let's go have a beer. And I'd go like this and I'd go, oh shit. And I got to right the ship. And that's what I did for 20 years. And then acting, same thing. I'm always off course. Even now, when I'm up here, you guys, I've done this play 1,200 times, all right? That's not counting rehearsals, which is a lot more, right? So the whole time I'm up here, which is 90 minutes, the whole time, 99% of the time, I'm righting the ship. The ship is off kilter a little bit, like I'm going, am I present? And then I'll take a breath, I'll feel my feet on the stage, and I'll go, oh, I'm back. And then somebody moved, like that door opened, and my attention went there, and I go, shit, I'm out. I'm out. Okay, let me right the ship. Boom, right the ship. And this is how you right the ship. Connect. Got him. Connect. Got her. She's mine. Connect. And that's what rights this ship. And taking a breath and feeling your feet, or just, you notice, I don't know if you guys noticed during the performance, but I look at my fingers sometimes. That's just righting the ship. I just want to get present in my body. You guys do the same. You're always going to be off course. If you want to make $1 million this year, you're going to be off course 99% of the time, but I guarantee you, if you keep riding the ship, you'll make it. You'll hit the bullseye. It can't work any other way. It just can't. That's how things work. I surround myself with people who see greatness in me. My dad, my brother, my wife, my kids, they constantly see greatness that I can't necessarily see. And they say, Bo, I think you can do it. And I'm like, serious? And then I just right the ship. That's all I ever do. And do the same and get rid of all those other people. Because everyone else is like, hey man, you can't do it. Ah, too bad. Yeah, get rid of them. Even if they're family, like, yeah, I got you. Sorry about that. Because Like if your job, like I was talking about earlier, if your job is an expression of who you are, isn't it the most important job in the world?
It's not a job.
Yeah, exactly. It is, but it's everything that you are. So why not treat it that way? So anybody who steps in the way of that has got to go. Sorry, got to go. And they understand. People understand. People get it. Cindy Tomasini understands. They do. They get it. People, and then they get on your side. They go, man, that was brave. I saw what you did. 99% off course.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Did you ever win a Super Bowl?
No, I never won a Super Bowl. But it's funny. I drew the plan up in 1969, 20 years. So 1989, I was to win the Super Bowl. I get traded from Houston to San Francisco, who's got a great team. I play for 4 games, blow my knee for the 7th time. They cut me. They go on and win the Super Bowl. It's 1989. San Francisco beat Cincinnati Bengals. So every time I see my old teammates, this is what I say to them. You owe me. See, that ring that you got on your finger is all because of this. And think about it. Listen to this. Here's a crazy stat. 1.2 million kids play high school football. You know that? 1.2 million. Okay? Guess what percentage play in the pros? Out of 1.2 million. 0.08%. 0.08%. On my little high school team, I grew up in a little farm community up in Sacramento, California. We had 27 boys on my high school team, right? Never a pro player before I got there, never a pro player since I left. Not one. It's a tiny little dead-end high school. We had 27 boys on my team. 4 guys went to the NFL. 4 guys. Blew that whole stat to shit. Right? Why? Those guys said, if that little shit Bo's going to do it, I'm certainly going to do it. And they go, let's just get on his plan. He's got the plan already. Let's just follow it. And they did. And 4 went to the pros. And then when I went to college, I went to UC Davis. No pro players come out of UC Davis. No scholarships. Division II. I was a top pick as a safety. My roommate was a first-round pick as a quarterback, Kenny O'Brien for the Jets. And my other roommate was a 5th-round pick of this. And no one comes out of there. But people get caught up in your dream. That's why I say to you, your job has to be an expression of who you are, and now everyone's got to come to you. And guess what? Your clients become successful because they get caught up in a whirlwind, in a dream. No one can stop a dream. Nobody. But you're going to be off course. And whenever you're off course, think of my dad. Think of him. You're the best in there, goddammit. Every time, every morning, the same thing. You're the best, God. Dad, I can't do it this morning. You're the best in there, goddammit. I think you can. And you get up and you do it. Okay? Do we have one over here? Yeah. Hi.
Hi. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
This has been great. When we were in our little groups, we were sort of tossing around what's the obvious take-home, tied-up, nice, neat lesson?
Yeah.
Is it don't be attached to the result? Is it, be committed till the end? And as I'm listening to the other answers, I'm really hearing it's about communicating who you are. And I'm thinking, oh, well, that's easy. I'm a musician, composer, so I'm always, I'm creative. I'm creating myself. But I'm like, there's got to be something. There's something else. And I'm wondering what beyond just the essence of when you were talking about Jerry Rice and the what he's doing, and then the Al Pacino and the dancer, I can't remember his name, how he was just sort of emanating himself. Like, what else do you see as ways to be that or do that or have that?
Yeah, the simplest way, it's so simple. It is so simple, you're not going to believe it. It's your personal story. It's your personal story. So think about this. Everybody think about this for 1 second. What was the lowest point of your life? It usually happens between the ages of 9 and 12, and something happens that it looks like there's no answers to, where you go, I'm dead, I'm done, this is it. And then in the very next moment that news comes, or that event happens, the very next moment you make a decision, and you say, this is who I'm going to be for the rest of my days. this is who I'm going to be. Think about that. What is that moment? And it's personal and it's intimate and it might be edgy and it might be dangerous. That's where I want you to go because that's where all your gold is. See, if you start there, that's where your gold is. Mine was I didn't make the Little League team, and my brother did. And my brother was on the phone call with the coach like this, and I was a kid. But the coach said, I just saw my brother's face. He goes, I made the team, Bo. Coach wants to talk to you. And I took the phone, and he said I wasn't on the team. And formed my whole life because I saw my brother's face and how disappointed he was. He was like, and I said, that's never happening again, ever. You see what I mean? So it's painful, right? To me, but who gives a shit? It's what you decide afterwards. It's what you decide and you go, no, I'm not getting cut anymore. And it forms your whole life. That's where your story begins, right in there. 9 and 12, something, where you said, this is who I am. And then your job as a storyteller, as a personal brand for your company, is to tell that story of climbing that mountain. Because you're way down at the bottom. Every story starts at the bottom, right? Just every great movie that's ever been made, every book, every movie, play, every TV show starts at the bottom. No one starts at the top. Otherwise, that's a boring movie. No, everyone turns it off. Start at the bottom, everyone watches because they want to see that climb up the hill. Is this kid ever going to do it? Is this girl going to find her expression? Is she going to find it in music? Is she going to find it in dance? Is she going to speak? What is she? What's she made of? That's where yours lies. That's where all of ours lies, right there. And that's the first thing we do when I take people for a weekend. That's the first thing we find. And once we find that, it's all like this, up a hill, climbing, physicalizing that story, and broadcasting it everywhere you go, on video, on stages, in presentations, on the phone, meetings, everywhere. You're sharing yourself.
Even if you're still climbing that mountain.
Always. Remember, 99% off course. You're climbing. Because your life's not, how old are you?
31.
31, yeah. I mean, you're gonna live till you're 100. Are you gonna retire? No. What are you gonna retire from?
Yeah.
I can't, when people say they're gonna retire, I always go, from what? From what? This is what I'm gonna be doing when I'm 100. If I'm still upright, or even if I'm not, if I'm laying down or I'm in a wheelchair, this is what I'm going to be talking about. Now, this is an expression of who I am. I'll never stop. Same with you. Did that help?
That did help.
Well, have you guys read there's 2 books out. One is called The Dream Society, and one, Daniel Pink wrote a book called A Whole New Mind. A Whole New Mind by Daniel Pink. And there's one by Rolf Jensen, and that one is called Dream Society. Both of these books are talking about the same thing. We're leaving the information age, right? So the iconic figures of the information age were Bill Gates and Steve Jobs, right? Those days are over, right? Information age, over. That's all going to get outsourced to India, right? So that's just how it's going to be. The iconic figure of this age, is guess who? According to these books, which I knew I was right about all the time. Shh. The person who can tell the best story and impact people emotionally, whether your product is a physical product or an intellectual product, you have to be able to impact people with your personal story emotionally, to make them a part of the community, a part of belonging. That's the only thing that we're missing, right? We have plenty of money, right? What's the biggest ticket we can buy? A private jet? We can figure out a way to buy a private jet. Everything is accessible to us except one thing: emotion, connection, human contact, expression. That's your job. That's your job for the rest of your days. We are going to die. All of us are going to die in what's called the dream society or the conceptual age, meaning the best storyteller, the person who can impact people with emotion. There's an example that they give in the book about Whole Foods. You guys know that market, Whole Foods? They sell eggs for 43 cents more than the other people sell. One egg for 43 cents more. You know why? Because of the story attached to the egg. That egg was laid by a chicken that, roamed free and, had incense and shit. They can sell eggs for 43 cents more per egg because of that story, right? That's what people want, story. And the best story you got is yours, is that one we just talked about. What's your name? Cheryl? The exact story we just talked about with Cheryl is yours. That is your golden goose. That is the key to the kingdom. I know what you're thinking. I know you're thinking right now, I don't have a good story. Hey, Bo, I don't have a good story. I didn't play in the NFL. Hey, Bo, my life's kind of boring. My life's kind of mundane. I said the same exact thing. Everyone says the same exact thing. You know why? Because I'm 50. I had to live these 50 years, so that story's kind of boring. But if I take the most crucial part of those 50 years and squish it together like this, that's dramatic. That's drama, and we all have that kind of drama in our lives. I think I said it to you or to you. The only difference between my story and your story is I love my story more than you love yours. That's it. I'm more generous with my story than you are with yours. Now that's something that's under your control. I control how generous I am. I can choose not to be generous and not tell this story anymore, not give all of myself up here. I dropped 10 pounds while I was up here. 10. I can choose to phone it in. I can come up here and go, hey, I cut 1,000 balls a day. I cut 1,000 balls a day every day for 20 years in a row. Never dropped a ball. I could just do that, right? I wouldn't sweat a drop. I wouldn't give you anything. And you go, wow, that was kind of interesting, but I don't know. That's bullshit, man. You know what? The world we're not up for that anymore. I don't want to see a speaker who does this. Watch the news. Watch politicians. What do you do when a politician gets up there and he goes like this? You don't even listen, right? You don't listen. Why? Because you know nothing's coming out of there. Nothing will come out of there that's personal, that connects us, that's humble. Nothing. It's all blame. They're critics, man. They're just blaming other people for everything. I mean, that's why it's so uninspiring. That's why we're not in that game. We're not politicians. We don't have to be diplomatic. We have to be on our side. We have to love our story and never stop giving it. And lose 10 pounds every time you tell it. Because clients go like this. This is what clients do. Holy shit, if this guy's this committed to his story, just think what he's going to do for me. And that is true. I work with a lot of financial services guys, a lot of financial service people, and they don't want to tell their stories. They're really left brain. They don't even think about stories. They don't even think they have a good story. But as soon as they start telling it, they have amazing stories. And you know what their stories all come down to? One, they all have the same exact story. I don't care if they're making $300,000 a year or $10 million a year. They all have the same exact story. You know what it is? I came home. I was 12, came home, and my best friend, we were arm in arm. We came in the door, and my dad was in his underwear on the sofa, and he was drunk. And my mom was in the kitchen, and she was crying because my dad had just lost all our money. And I decided in that moment that was never going to happen to another family as long as I'm alive. And they've dedicated their lives to making sure no family feels those feelings he felt at 12. I said, okay, do you tell clients that? And they go, no, that's shameful. I would never tell a client that. I go, trust me, go tell the first client you see, tell them that story. Because if somebody's going to handle my money, I want to know he's in it for the game. He's battling. It's emotional to him. He won't stop. He's never going to stop because it's emotional to him. That pain happened to him when he was 12 and it never left him. And he said, I'll never lose your money. I'll make sure your family never has those feelings. That's a dedicated life. So as soon as they start to tell that story, and I'm not kidding you guys, they are ashamed to tell it. It's like pulling teeth to have them tell a 2-minute story like that. But as soon as they do, guess what? Huge money. Everyone just goes like this. Here, take my money. Here. Why? Right? That's who I would give my money to. I don't want to give my money to somebody who just isn't in it for the long run, their life isn't dedicated to something, right? Yeah, I'll be around. So if you guys have any questions, I'll be around to answer them. And thanks for being such a great audience. I really appreciate it.
One more time. Bo Eason, everybody. Yes.
Thank you.
Yes. Wow.